And a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the
Thank you,
agenda.
Kamal. Second. Thank you. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Tina's put up minutes from the December 1 meeting here. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Morgan. Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Tina, do you have any written public comments this week, this meeting?
I do not have any written public comment. I do have one caller out there. Caller, if you would like to speak, please press *3 on your phone. And I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, good. Thank you. Well, so once again, it's time for the Redistricting Master. I know Paul loves that title. Forever and ever, to be known as the Redistricting Master.
Yeah, that's
So as each of you saw, I had made a couple of requests to Paul, and I first, before he begins, I want to tell you how much I appreciate his getting right on that. Your diligence and hard work is greatly appreciated, Paul. So go ahead.
Great. Thank you, Greg. All right, I'll share my screen. Did everybody get the email that I sent out yesterday afternoon
Yeah, I understand it.
with the 4 PDFs?
Mhm.
No.
Okay. Are they going? I sent it, Janet. I sent it to both your Comcast and Yahoo accounts.
I got, yeah, I mean, I did get emails. I just don't get PDFs attached.
Really?
So I didn't see anything.
Okay.
Well, you know, Janet, in the future, when that happens, if you would contact me, I can make arrangements to get you the whatever you're missing.
Yeah. I mean, in the body of the email, I mentioned that there are attached PDFs.
But I think, Janet, I think you'll get a sense of this from Paul's presentation, though.
True.
I mean,
True.
I studied the neighborhoods and stuff like that. And I spent a lot of time looking at the maps, trying to figure it out.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. And let's just step through those right now. So there were 2 questions. The first was to look at the population breakdown within just the city of Vancouver.
Mhm.
So what you're looking at here is the city of Vancouver, and it's been used as kind of a cookie cutter to clip the districts of alternative A2. And we'll look at B2 in a moment. But as you see, I've got each district colored. You know, there's nothing shown outside the city. It's just the city. And I think one of the takeaways here is with District 3 going all the way to the Camas boundary over here, it has a population of 79,000 people, which is higher than the District 3 in alternative B2. So here I've flipped to B2. The boundary goes straight down, I think 162nd, 164th. It has a population of 71,000. You know, both have a District 4. District 4 is, even though here District 4 is in two pieces, you know, it's still, these are all encompassed in the larger District 4 out in Camas and unincorporated Clark County. But when flipped with the city, they come out as 2 pieces. Any questions? Yep, the total is 190,915, which is the census population for the city of Vancouver. So that came out nicely. Should I move on?
Yes.
All right. The second question involved neighborhoods, and so we're going to focus on. In fact, the question was very specific to the eastern boundary of District 3. So here, you know, here's 205 running down to Oregon. This is alternative A2, and what we're highlighting here, especially with the red dashes, are areas where the eastern edge of the boundary or the eastern boundary passes through a neighborhood association. Was there a question? Oh, I'll continue. So I'm going to bounce back and forth between A2 and B2. First, I'll point out, I missed this a couple times, but down here in the south is Fisher's Creek. And then there's up closer to Fourth Plain, North Image, and Sifton have the boundary passing through, splitting that neighborhood association. On B2, the boundaries again follow 164th, 162nd, and really are a little bit more coincident with neighborhood boundaries, with the exception of Heritage up here.
Paul, thank you so much for that analysis and doing that so quickly. Are there any comments regarding the response to the questions were put forth to Paul? No. So I guess just in summary, on the question, and I asked the question because there was a lot of discussion last week or over the past few weeks about communities of interest, and specifically City of Vancouver. And so what Paul's analysis shows is that both A2 and B2 have Vancouver City residents in 4 different districts. And the variance in the numbers of the people who are the Vancouver City residents in each of those 4 districts is there's not much of a difference. 90,000, 10,000. There's a little bit of a difference in District 3, 71,000 to 79,000. District 4, 18,000, 11,000. But each of the plans have Vancouver City residents in all 4 districts. And then, really, if you talk about, I think even a better, in my opinion, a better definition of communities of interest than the broader city would be neighborhoods. And Paul's analysis shows that A2 runs a boundary through, splits up 4 different neighborhood associations, and B2 splits 1 neighborhood association. So I thought that was interesting information relating to the one of the criteria put forth in state law, which is communities of interest. Oh, there we are. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah. I'm just trying to provide a graphic for points and whatnot.
Yeah. So, any other comments on that? All right. So with that, we're on to go to the order. Or I guess discussions of any general discussions. Janet?
Well, I was thinking a lot about our last meeting and the discussion about East Vancouver, and I live in East Vancouver. And during the previous election, we elected charter representatives. And one of the ones that serves my area was Terry Niles, who served on the redistricting subcommittee for the county, for the charter. And so when we talk about elections and the will of the people, I mean, you can go back. So now it's really 3 elections that are being considered. One, when the freeholds thing was created in 2008, who was put on the Charter Review Commission, and then what they came out with and what was voted on by the voters this past year.
Yeah, I guess that prompts me, Janet, to express my appreciation to Kamal for making his request to the chair of the Charter Review Commission subcommittee on redistricting, or on the 5 council district committee. Or simply put, Kamal's request, Chuck Green. And Chuck provided, and hopefully each of you received information that Chuck provided in response to Kamal's question. And Chuck does a really nice job of laying out exactly what you said, Janet, which is that where we are today actually began back in, I think it would be 2012, when the draft county charter had 5 committee districts, 5 council districts, was then revised to 4 council districts, and then was revised here most recently to 5 council districts. And so I think I thought it was a very interesting memorandum that Chuck had provided us, and provides a little bit of background to this whole discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And it also showed that they considered where Karen Bowerman lived. They looked at where the current counselors lived, and they couldn't create boundaries that fit the charter definition to include her. And basically, whether Kamal and one want to say it, the S curve is to keep Karen Bowerman in the 3rd district.
Yeah,
Or accomplishes that.
definitely. That's what RCW 29A says.
Exactly. Yeah.
Section 4, I think it's subsection D, right?
D.
Can't
Yeah.
district someone out.
So basically, the way the line works currently is that it has, I think it's Karen Bowerman and Gary Mevigi in one district, and that's basically gerrymandering. And I think Chuck called that out in that PDF. Yeah.
I don't think that's what Chuck said. I think Chuck
That's
said,
exactly what he said, if I read it correctly. He even mentioned that there was a discussion about, what we're going to do. It seemed like it was still a conflict when they were discussing all this stuff, and then they put it in this report.
Wow. So I say I'm dismayed that that's your interpretation. Where in Chuck's report do you read that one?
Read the whole thing, right? They said go back down. They even mentioned Karen Bowerman by name.
Yeah.
Right.
That was
So
an issue.
And
they put multiples into one district.
Yeah, the reason what he says is determine it's right here on page 4. Says determine that moving boundaries purely to keep incumbent partisan councilors within their current district boundaries to be inconsistent with the RCW criterion.
Right, but go to section 4. What was that line? Section 4.
It was D.
Bullet point C.
It was, yeah, D.
I'm struggling with where
Because
he says maybe consider gerrymandering and inconsistent with the state's redistricting law.
Right, you just said it may be considered gerrymandering.
It's from my reading of that, he's saying what you're doing is gerrymandering.
Yeah, and what he's saying is the reason they didn't adjust the boundaries to keep Bowerman inquiring in separate districts was because they consider that to be gerrymandering. I'm stunned
that they couldn't split up because that would be considered gerrymandering. This is part of a redistricting, right? And then so
no, what he's saying here, if my reading of it, is that by considering where current councilor members live, you are considering party, and using that partisan information, you are favoring one party over another, or at least that's how it could be construed.
Right.
Clearly,
to me, it seems like they did that before.
You think they drew the line?
Can you show that
they drew
bullet
a
point?
map that followed the 17th district boundary just to get rid of Karen Bowerman?
I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that the way it looks.
That does seem like your implication.
But they shouldn't have done that, right? So if you go to that bullet point, section 4, bullet point C or D, I don't remember exactly which one it is now. It specifically says you can't take part of the
4D.
Wow.
so is Amanda on here? She's the county attorney. I mean, she's used to reading
Right, that's fine.
statutes.
Wow.
That's
Can we scroll to that point?
What's that
Which
one?
one? Is it in the PDF?
It's section 4. I think it's up on top of the. If you go down through this, it might be up on top.
You keep referencing section 4. It doesn't have sections in here, so you got to say what page and what page you talking about, Juan.
I don't have it in front of me. I'm asking to go.
actually the RCW, RCW 29A. It was actually what you had up, what Paul had up before.
So if you're referencing the RCW, yeah, the RCW says you can't favor or disfavor any political party. What
Right.
my reading of Chuck Green's memorandum is that they looked at adjusting the boundaries to keep Barman and Quiring in separate districts in Medvedji, and they decided that was gerrymandering, so they chose to not do that. Now you guys are interpreting that exactly the opposite, and I'm that's.
Well, no, we didn't even follow that. We said, okay, we can't use that, so we played with population, compactness, and the other stuff and stayed away from that. But then we get this document that says, hey, this was looked into, and it was a point of concern at that point.
So do we need to get Chuck Green to participate in our meeting to explain in more detail what he actually meant?
That'd be fine, Janet.
Sure, I'll see if Chuck's available right now. I know this is an argument I've heard from others. I've heard it from a county councilor that the actions of the Charter Review Commission was gerrymandering. In fact, that,
I'm not saying it was gerrymandering. I'm just saying that it looks like it, for one. Two, if we had such a disparity in District 5, to me, is why would they do that? And I brought up that point the other day. If 5 was so disparate as it was when we got it, we have to muck with things. Right?
So it wasn't, okay,
it wasn't disparate based off of the data they had at the time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Morgan.
So that's not a fair argument. Like the data they had at the time said
Hey,
they
Chuck, are you
drew maps
available
that
to
were
come on
balanced.
to our meeting right now?
They even bring it up specifically that it was a point of concern. Right?
Yeah. So that was that's what I read. That's what I read.
Right. So,
So Chuck will be joining us in about 5 minutes, and he can answer for himself. But yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm shocked at your interpretation of the memorandum. And
I'm shocked
and Juan, I got to say, your continued observation that the population numbers now are out of balance, that District 5 is 5,400 voter population out of balance, is completely irrelevant to what the Charter Review Commission members did a year ago. They used the information available to them at that point to get the population balanced. So I wish we could get you to understand that.
All right, so, but then we come to a point where I'm coming into this, and then the population wasn't balanced.
Right, so which is why we're...
So why wasn't it balanced? Was it because the census data that finally came in and they got that information? I think I read something about that.
So
they were playing with all this before they had the census data. So when the census data came in and all that, it threw the balance off, right? So it was negative 5,000 some.
Correct.
Yeah, but the data that they were using,
but we have to make sure that population comes into play, right? So if they use that information at that point to make those lines, then the lines become irrelevant later and that population changed too.
But our mission isn't to change everything. Our mission is to just tweak
We're just changing to make the population more balanced out now, right? And Kamal and I, we decided, okay, we're not gonna do any partisanship, but hey, the only way this works for us is, and the population comes in real nicely. We're real close to what you guys are proposing too, so it's not irrelevant. What we're proposing and what you guys are proposing are pretty much close to the population targets. but we had to make those changes.
Yeah.
There's no way we could get around it.
So today, the communities of interest isn't important to you.
Well, no, I'm going, if that's not of interest to you because there's precedents and other stuff, then at that point I could say, okay, well, then it's not important, right?
So last
if you guys
Wednesday,
if you guys want us to compromise on something, we're compromising on that scenario, right?
What are you compromising on?
I'm saying,
excuse me for a moment.
up to this point has been said that we're not compromising on. Okay, fine. We'll compromise on that. You guys weren't really concerned about the community, Vancouver becoming less, spread out. Okay, great. We'll give that up. But our map shows that we can get close to population. We can keep communities together. Yeah, we split some things here and there. Other propositions do the same thing. But there is the issue of what happened here, right? Why do we move a committee member out to another? And then does that make sense? If that doesn't look
Great.
or seem that it also has, people thought about this. It's like, does this make sense, right? According to that.
Juan, here's a hypothetical. What if Karen died tomorrow, okay? So then you have a really weird looking S-curve that you've done just to keep her in the district, that it's going to be part of the county for at least the next 5 years, and there's no basis for it. When you're talking about communities in Vancouver, what Greg was saying is, if you look at communities in the city of Vancouver and also Clark County, we didn't actually map out the Clark County communities. They are very specific communities of common interest. And so are you arguing that the city of East Vancouver is more important than having all these other communities stay together? So you're splitting up 4 to get your way, whereas tweaking our the B criteria only splits 1 community. The idea of the population, we came up with B4, which actually does a better job of the population.
That's great. Could you send Chuck Green a link to this meeting?
No, I'm just saying we're playing with things that affect each other. Right? So like I said before, you play with population, you're going to change, compactness. You change compactness. So yeah, my plan to get more of Vancouver into play, sure, okay, affects some communities. And you're saying the opposite, right? That if it affects some of those communities, we want to affect Vancouver. So,
but you can't
I'm willing to give some stuff here and there, but this contention of, why did, someone get redistricted out for one thing, right? When it necessarily didn't have to. Yeah, they were playing with numbers that became outdated by the time the census data came out. Okay, so now we got to play with that, right? There is no, well, that's the data they had then, so we're just going to go with that, and then the data changed later, right? The actual data that we need to look at.
So redistricting my interpretation was, I mean, even the way they redistricted the 17th on some of these proposals that didn't get approved, all of them have Vicky Kraft being redistricted out. I mean, it's not like it's an uncommon thing to redistrict out someone. You're not supposed to do it intentionally, but you're supposed to follow some kind of thing.
Okay, so why did Karen Bauer get redistricted out? I mean, we can't prove otherwise.
Where she lives.
What I interpreted was that they put, obviously, most of the Republican councilors in one district. And I thought you cannot do that. You cannot do that. You see, that was my interpretation. And that's what I thought Chuck was trying to say in his in the little PDF there.
Well, we have Chuck. We have Chuck with us now, who can answer the question of Chuck. There's been an interpretation of your memo.
Hey,
that what you're describing. Well, Juan, you go ahead and tell him what you interpreted Chuck's memo as.
My interpretation is that this was a moving of Karen Bowerman and of Eileen Quirian into District 4 was something that was brought up as a concern when you guys were doing the maps. right? Looking at RCW 29A, there's a section in there that says you can't, move around boundaries
Yeah.
to redistrict someone out, right? If it's at all possible to be done.
And Morgan, what's your interpretation of Chuck's memo?
So from my reading of the memo, it seems to me to say the exact opposite, which is that by considering where the counselors live, you're actually engaging in trying to favor one political party over another, or at least that's a possible interpretation someone could make.
So first, thank you for inviting me in. And second, I apologize for my wearing a Broncos sweatshirt. I just got back from the store, so I was not prepared to join in. So let me give you our intent, because it was not to district people in, it was not to district people out. Our intent was to take what the freeholders developed as a starting point, and then we actually decided to see, all right, if we start with these boundaries, how does that affect the incumbents?
Chuck, my name is Paul. I'm with the county, and I have your PDF that you sent out recently I'm sharing it on the screen. Can you see it?
I'm just seeing a memo.
Yeah. So what I'm offering is, if you'd like a particular graphic or a portion of the memo,
Go to
be displayed.
figure, hold on, I got my PDF up as well. So I think it's in the appendix. And
Okay.
the appendix is set up to kind of go in chronological order. So if you start with figure 1.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to try to follow along and provide a graphic for your discussion.
Thank you.
And if I need to move something, let me know. But sorry for the interruption.
All right. Yeah, maybe you could move my hair because it feels like it's all over the place. The figure 1 is the 5-district map that the freeholders developed and ultimately did not move forward. And so that was our starting point. What we then did was to say, all right, if this is the starting point, unfortunately, we could not find any documentation as to how they arrived at these district boundaries.
I can tell you how.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can tell you how. I contacted GIS and said, hey, take the existing 3 commissioner districts, turn it into 5 in the most compact manner, and get the population as equal as possible. So that was the exact request of GIS, and they came back with what you see here on your screen as figure 1. Took them less than a day to do that.
So it's my understanding when this map was developed in 2014, each of the 5 districts had equal number of people.
Based on the estimates available to GIS at the time.
Those the 2014 estimates, kind of in the same position we were earlier this year. So go to figure 2. Figure 2, that's just the population that we were seeing for 2020 with those freeholder districts. So you can see that, and unfortunately, I know I have a table somewhere else in the memo, but that was what we were seeing in terms of the population for each of the 5 districts, the freeholder districts, with 2020 population estimates. And as you can see, District 5 has a lot more than the other districts, and District 4 is in the same position.
Jack, just to reference, table 1 is the one that has that information.
All right, thank you.
If people are wondering.
On page 3.
So any questions up to this point? So this is kind of round 7 years ago. Round 1 for us was to take 7 years ago and plot 2020 estimates on that map, and that's what we were seeing. Now we go to figure 3. Now I got to caveat this, that we are a nonpartisan commission. And so we were attempting to work things through a variety of lenses, but the primary lens was the RCW that was mentioned earlier. But what we wanted to also see is what are the effect of the freeholder map boundaries on the incumbent councilors? Because again, we were not trying to district people into seats. We're not trying to district people out of seats. And what we found was, based on the freeholder map, we did indeed have counselor for District 2 outside of the new District 2, freeholder District 2. We also had 3 incumbent counselors all in District 4. So it was not us that did this. This was based on the freeholder map, and we're just trying to get an idea of where we stood. We did look at an option that attempted to move Karen Bowerman back into the new District 3. And that's that dashed line that you see to the east that kind of meanders along Fisher Swale. What happened was, and I'm not sure what table number it is in our report. There's a table that shows the results of that. And I believe that's table 2. Let me just verify that. I believe it's table 2. And as you can see, by moving that line to the east, we put District 4 way under, put District 3 way over, and they were starting to realize, well, if we're moving these lines to try to keep incumbent partisan counselors in office, we're in effect inconsistent with the RCW. So this was the last time we looked at the residences or approximate residential locations of existing counselors, because we felt that as nonpartisan commission and as trying to stay consistent and true to the RCW, we should just take those 5 bubbles, yellow bubbles, off the map and start looking at balancing the districts per population, as well as keeping them compact and contiguous. So that's,
jump in?
Yes.
So given that Kamal came up with this map that put those dotted lines basically back in, and it brought in the population to, basically as far as can be, almost as close as to the B proposal that Janet and Morgan are proposing. You see that as an issue, right? You guys thought about it and then didn't do it because with the info that you had at the time, it didn't make sense. I agree with that, but now it does make sense.
Not that it didn't make sense, that it seemed to them to be adjusting boundaries.
It did make sense. That's what he
to
just
favor
said.
a political party.
So they did away with it, right?
To favor a political party.
Right, exactly. With the data that they had, they didn't want to favor a political party. There was a population issue that Chuck just mentioned, and because of that secondary point of fact, they decided not to do it. Okay, I agree. They didn't favor or disfavor a group, but now we can move that back, and it brings in the population correctly, and that was our original goal, right? Kamal, we wanted to get the population close. That brings in Bowerman into the mix. Great, but
it seems very clear now that your goal was to favor a political party by moving that boundary to keep Bowerman and acquiring separate. It seems you just said that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. My goal, I even said it, I want to bring that differential in each district the closest can be. When we did the flip and then we added District 612 to 3, it came into where everybody was within 200 plus or minus.
Yeah. And then Greg,
as I mentioned, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So this is my interpretation, is that putting the all those counselors in the District 4, that is, I thought that's kind of showing favoritism, you see what I'm saying, to that district with one political party. And so if you were to move Bowerman, because you called it out in the PDF, I thought that would be more balanced, you see what I'm saying? So that way you don't have so much representation in District 4 there. And
Right.
so that was,
So Kamal, again, you continue to reference benefiting a political party in your comments. So when you're
well, the original district committee did that, right? So they went through the analysis. If we were making the decision based on those numbers at that time, I would say, okay, come on, yeah, we got to call it a quits. You guys win, right? But not. This is showing me that at the time they did basically what we're doing here with the dotted line. It threw off the population way out of whack. Okay, great. We can't do that, right? We just put the line back now, and the population comes into whack.
Yes.
So I want to clarify.
Forget Karen Bowerman, forget anything. We do that, and it comes right in exactly to within 200 plus 200 minus 200 on each district.
I want to make clear. We did not set out to put people in districts or put people out of district. We were not doing, it was not our function to try to district people out of office or district people into office. Now, that being said, if you note that the dashed lines that you see in District 2 and in District 3, we attempted to have those dashed lines represent some type of boundary barrier jurisdiction or whatever, because that is consistent with the RCW. Had that map change that you're seeing for District 3, had that balanced the population between 3 and 4, we would have stopped.
Chuck, is it okay if I show you, or Paul, can you put up A2, the map A2, that iteration that you
oh, sure,
created in GIS? We just wanted to just show you that.
So you're sitting in front of a judge, and he's got A2 and B2 in front of you, and asks the question, both of these maps have equal population. The one map has better communities of interest. Let's see. They're both equally compact. And he asked the question, why did you create this, what I would say a large variance, this S-curve? Why did you create this S-curve in A2, which is so much different from what the voters just approved? What was your rationale for doing that? Because both plans have equal, let me finish. I'm going to say it again. Both plans have equal compactness. Both plans have equal population. B2 is significantly better with keeping communities of interest together. So why did you create this S-curve that is such a variance from what the voters just approved? And when you have this statement from Chuck that the reason the boundaries are created in the first place, why they didn't have this S-curve, was because they considered creating that S-curve gerrymandering. So what are you going to tell the judge at that point?
Did they consider gerrymandering? I don't know, Chuck, can you answer that? I don't think it was considered gerrymandering. You guys were looking into that fact, and you guys made the right choice, right? It threw off the population when you guys did that, and so you guys just made the line straight in as what the voters voted. Now, we're coming in later with new data, and like I said, Kamal and I looked at population, and we said, okay, if we do this, bring this S-curve in back now that we see that you guys were thinking about that too, and the population falls right in.
Yeah. So we got
Gamboa, you continue. I'm here as co-chair of the Charter Review Commission and one responsible to lead the group to put that map that went on the ballot together. You continue to change the timelines and the facts. We did not do a map to respond to the voters. We did a map to put in front of the voters. We did not produce a map that had an S-curve. We produced a map that used consistent with the RCW, respecting compactness, barriers, natural boundaries, jurisdictional boundaries to extend District 3 to the east. It happened that it would have encompassed Karen Bowerman and Eileen Quiring O'Brien. But the population was very much out of balance. We did not have a version of our map that matches what I'm seeing on screen here.
Okay. So you guys, when you guys did your line, let's say, even though it wasn't an S-curve, you're right, you guys were just doing things and trying to follow the RCW. We're following the RCW too, trying to get as many things together there. Yeah. Following us. But I think Juan said, okay, we want to bring in the population in line. It brings in this scenario back. It does an S-curve. It breaks some level of compactness, so not much compared to others.
That back to make the numbers work.
How can you answer that question of why is the S-curve there any other way than to say it is to protect Karen Bowerman?
No. See, can you scroll down a little bit there, Paul? So you see all the target numbers.
Oh, you mean zoom in?
Yeah. No, zoom out a little bit. I can't see the District 5 differential numbers.
Both plans have good population equal. Both plans have equal population.
Understand that, but see that 191 negative 179. That's basically a 0.
Both
one. So that doesn't make sense. Can we stop making this argument?
No, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense because it has to add up to 0.
I'm talking, Morgan. Let me make my point. It does make sense. You know why? Because originally this thing was 630 something negative in District 5 and 600 plus in District 3. Our changes brought it down to 200 on each side.
Mm-hmm.
So, Juan, are you suggesting that Plan A is significantly better in equal population than Plan B?
I am not saying it's better. I'm saying it's about as equal as B.
Yeah.
In compactness,
my point,
it's about as equal as B. In population, is about as equal as B. And two, all we did is we said, okay, fine. Well, how do we get to the closest number we can?
Yeah.
One, 2 points. One, it doesn't make sense because no matter what you do, if the population is a net value, if we're close on them all, it's going to add up to 0. So saying that District 5 and District 3 together add up to 0 or close to 0 is the same as all of the plans because the plans have to do that.
I understand that, but okay, so then we should have just stayed with the minus 600 and plus 600. That's way off for those districts.
But that's why we're looking at the total variance with the absolute value, because that actually shows how much variance there is for each for the whole plan.
Plan B's variance is better, I understand, but not by much. If you can show me that it's a lot off, then great.
Yeah.
Okay, so my second point. My second point is that I think it's a little disingenuous to say that your plan is particularly similar to the plan that was considered by the Charter Review Commission. Because the chart...
Can you put the one up side by side? I don't know if you can fit that on your screen.
Because what they tried to do was include the urban growth boundary, I believe is what they tried to do. And they didn't make any significant change to the northern part of District 3. And when they did that, they found that it significantly threw off the balance of the district. Your plan, on the other hand, doesn't follow the urban growth boundary, and you make a significant change to the northern part of the district to create the balance. So if they had tried to do that, they probably could have created balance, but they didn't make that attempt. So I think your map and their map are not equivalent.
And the bigger point.
I look at this. I mean, we moved this northeast boundary in that map. We moved it a little bit to the what do you call it? To the left to get in the hope to get the population in line.
Yeah. And the comparison.
But you see here, their line. If I just move a little bit over to the left, that top line, and then come down to the what do you call it? To the dotted line, Yeah, they'd be similar.
And the comparison of your map, Plan A, to the map that the Charter Review Commission rejected, that they rejected because they felt it was gerrymandering, I don't find that a valuable comparison.
Why did, yeah, exactly, but did they just reject it because of the gerrymandering? Can someone answer that? No, it sounds to me like they rejected it because it threw the population way out.
If I
Right,
could,
so they were looking at
Well,
this.
Chuck's here, let's ask him that question, Chuck. What's your response to that
I'm the
statement?
one that led that decision. And I mentioned
Chuck,
this,
was that plan rejected because of, you viewed it as being gerrymandering?
we viewed the sense of trying to move boundaries to include sitting councilors as gerrymandering. What you can see with the dotted line is our attempt to comply with the RCW by moving the line consistent with boundaries, barriers, natural features. So that dotted line on the south half follows Fisher Swale.
Yeah. So you could use the natural boundary criteria as a way to achieve gerrymandering, but ultimately you rejected that plan because you viewed it as gerrymandering.
Well,
to favor a political party.
The population threw it off, right?
We decided at that point we were going to create all of our succeeding maps without the yellow bubbles. Had the population balance with that dotted line, we would have gone with that map because of the fact that we used boundaries, not sitting councilors, but we used boundaries, barriers, and features to create the dashed line. But the population very much through District 3, much over the limit or over the target. District 4 went under the target. So that's why we went to the next iteration. But had the population balanced, we would have stopped with trying to get that line and the population to match up.
So we just put the lines in the places where we thought the population was going to come right in, and bingo.
We made it work. And my interpretation, Chuck, was that you can't have one of the districts favor a party. That was my understanding and my interpretation, and that's what we were trying to fix there. That's wow.
Kamal, did you just say that you're trying to your plan is trying to?
Yeah, that you could not, you can't have one district favor a party. That's what I interpreted that.
No.
4D. So.
Well, I mean, just besides that point, I mean, the population, our map doesn't show Karen Bowerman, does it? I don't see that.
Did you consider it when drawing it?
Would I consider redrawing it?
No. I guess that's actually two questions. One, did you consider Karen Bowerman's address when you drew that map?
No.
Two.
We drew and we started pulling precincts, and okay, because look, this goes and gets us to the population goals that we want to get.
So the answer to and Kamal, interested in your response to that question as well. Your answer to the question of, did you consider Karen Bowerman's residential address when you drew that map what's your answer to that question?
Well, my whole thing was if it was, we had three.
It's a yes or no.
Is it, well, to move her out? Well, yeah, had to take into consideration move her out, but that.
So the answer to the question is yes, Kamal. Is that right?
Well, you got to go ahead because I thought that was gerrymandering by having them all in one district.
So, Kamal, let me ask the question again. Did you consider Karen Bowerman's residential address when you created the map A?
Not initially. No.
Yes or no?
No.
You said yes before, but now you say no.
Well, once we found out about the other counselors, and we had to say, no, we have to break this up. You know what I'm saying? I thought that you cannot have counselors that one party in one district. I thought that was gerrymandering because you're giving them the political control in that area. That was my interpretation.
As Janet pointed out earlier, when the State Redistricting Commission does its work, it does not consider where elected officials live. If you look at the plan that the state committee informally adopted and recommended to the Supreme Court, there are a number of elected officials who end up in, quote unquote, redistricted out. So
Hey,
they don't.
Greg, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know that we're in the middle of heated discussion. I did just want to let you know the Supreme Court did just issue a decision.
Oh, good.
And that decision said that basically the redistricting committee did meet all of the timelines. So the map that was eventually submitted, I think it was relatively shortly after the time frame or something like that, is going back to the redistricting committee. The Supreme Court isn't going to take any additional action in regards to that. Didn't make any statements about whether or not that was proper under the statutes and that sort of thing. That wasn't
Well,
before.
good. That was a good punt on their part, because now all the fine tuning can still happen with the state legislature. So thank you, Amanda. That's great.
Yeah, just wanted to give an update. That literally just
thank you.
happened probably about an hour ago.
Yeah, I just wish, I don't know. It appears to me, I'm going to say it again. Both plans are equal in compactness. Both plans are equal in population. Plan B is significantly better with communities of interest. Both plans are neutral on natural boundaries. It appears to me your Plan A was created with the goal, with the intent of favoring a political party, and Plan B, and for me, while it's not in statute, for me, and it seems like the other committee members, all the committee members have at one time or another said, yeah, we want to respect the voters' decisions recently. Plan B significantly does a better job of respecting the voters' decision. It appears to me the only reason this S-curve was created in there, because both plans are equal in population, both plans are equal in compactness, Plan B is better communities of interest. The only conclusion I can draw is that Plan A was created with this S-curve to favor a political interest. No one's going to disagree with that, huh?
No, I totally disagree.
Well, I disagree, Greg.
Okay.
That no.
Okay.
We didn't see it that way. No.
Well, okay. So Kamal, you did tell me that you had considered where the the counselors' residential are when you created the Plan A, but all right. Well,
no one else take that into account. I mean, Janet brought up someone that was a concern to her.
Gerrymandering.
What's that one?
Didn't Janet bring up someone that was a concern in her district? Niels?
I believe
Am
that's
I
just
wrong
that
on that?
she brought the name of someone who was on the Charter Review Commission, who she happens to know, as a reference to why they adopted the plan they adopted.
Okay.
Nothing more than that.
I didn't have that info, so.
Mm.
All I'm saying is we looked at this and how do we get that population going? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There's a line there in the middle that does cross, Bowerman and Queering, and okay.
But the biggest problem with what you've done is you're disregarding what everybody voted on in the last election, and you're substituting your judgment to change it significantly only to favor a particular keeping one person in. And you just can't justify your change that grossly. Now, when you say you want the population,
Information.
we got.
Why do we have a redistricting committee then, Ren? We should just left it at that.
Right.
Great, they voted for it, and here we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there was a 5%.
Yeah.
I mean, you're trying to tell me that the voters voted for something, and maybe at the point when they did, and then later you want to bring in a 5%, disparity in a District 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what. Okay, we've gone over and over this one. I'm sorry that it's you keep bringing this back up, but that's what this is all about. The redistricting, the plan. The voters voted on a plan that was created with information that was available at the time it was created. We have new information that's adjusting. So I don't know what
guess-
more, how to better
I guess my
explain
question
that.
would be, do you disagree that Plan B is closer to the voters?
I said that yesterday, Wednesday, 3 times. No, I don't disagree. It's a close plan. But
So I guess
if
I'm
they're all
having a
close,
hard
there's gotta
time
be something that
understanding
splits it up.
why that wouldn't be relevant to you. Why
Right.
is that not relevant?
What is not relevant?
Greg,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry,
Voters' decision.
Greg,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to
Just go
interject.
quickly.
I had a hard stop at 9:30. I'm sorry to crash the conversation. Can we reschedule this again? We need to go back to the drawing table for sure.
Yeah,
We do.
not sure how productive that will be, frankly. I am interested in the response to Morgan's question of why are you not, what value do you put on the voter's decision? Doesn't appear you put, in your criteria, when you're ranking the importance of the criteria, where do you put the voter's recent decision?
Near the top.
Near the top.
I think they literally voted on something that became stale after we got the census information and we started.
Yep.
We're redistricting, right? Yeah, I understand they voted for something, right? But as Chuck said, and correct me if I'm wrong here, there was a huge population change. That's why they didn't put it into the map, right? Well, if there was a huge population change, we just cleared it up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I want to
Right, what
clarify,
changed?
I did not say that.
No,
What we did and what I told people when we were presenting that map on our, I guess, presentation tour before the election was that these were 2020 population estimates, that the redistricting committee would have the census numbers and that map could have some minor changes to it. I did not say that we were way out of population balance to anybody during that, but it was clear that there is an expectation that once the census numbers come in, that the redistricting committee might make some minor changes to the map. And that's how I described it to the people when we were presenting this.
no, understood. And I hope you don't question that I'm questioning you. I'm not. I'm just saying, as what was said, is that the population didn't fit, right, till the things got thrown out of whack population, so I'm just going with that. So we came up with a map. My main goal originally from the beginning, like I said, was population. Came up with a map of population. Here we go. We're within about as close as possible.
So, but you said earlier, you agree that A and B are both equally good in population.
Right.
You agree that A and B are both equally good in compactness.
Yes.
Do you disagree that B is better than A on communities of interest?
I've always said I would like to see more of Vancouver in the 2 districts than 3 or 4.
So,
Right,
okay,
so-
so that's not the question. The question is, do you think B is better than A on communities of interest? You've seen both plans have.
No, I don't think B is better on communities of interest.
Even though A divides 4 neighborhood associations and B only divides 1 neighborhood association, and that under both plans, there are City of Vancouver residents in 4 districts. You still don't
Right,
think?
but in our plan, you got like a snippet of people from Vancouver into 1 district. We can't do that unless we throw the population off again. But I would like to see Vancouver be more in 2 districts and maybe just a little bit in the 3rd, but not the way it is now.
But part of the problem is we are not elected. The charter commissioners were elected and they came up with a plan. And our job is just to tweak it, not to create our own individual plan that's we think is individually is better.
Well,
Well, I mean, you just said it there. We're just here to give opinions, and I'm giving my opinion and voting on plans that, that with me. If the committee wants to override me, great. I'm just here. As you said, I'm not elected.
So Greg, I have a question.
My biggest goal here, and Greg asked of me, who's my highest priority is the voters. I'm sorry. Voters. Why? Because when they voted for this, okay, they voted on what was there, but things have changed.
so if your highest priority is respecting what the voters did, which of these 2 plans more closely aligns with what the voters approved, A or B?
For me, it's A, right? Because voters approved something that, they got little information on,
You did.
right?
Wow.
So,
Okay.
I mean, I looked at my ballot and I was like, okay, these lines, why are the lines where they're at?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say that again. So in your view, Plan A more closely aligns with what the voters approved than Plan B.
Yeah, I think the voters
Okay.
just approved for 5 districts, right?
It,
And then there's the redistricting committee that needs to balance things out.
I
Did the voters know
I will
did
note.
the voters know that why the lines landed where they did because of population? Did they know where things landed regarding,
All right.
their committee members? Did the voters know all this? No, I mean, I didn't see any of that in the ballot.
Okay. Well, it was available to all voters, all information. Okay. Well, you're entitled to your opinion. And Kamal, in your viewpoint, Plan A or Plan B is closer represents what the voters did.
well, Greg, where I'm at with this is that I'm looking at that District 4, and I still am in the mindset that there is gerrymandering going on there. And that's why I want to go back to the drawing board, because I find that there's something that needs to be done there. That's all.
So Chuck has, I think,
But anyway.
thoroughly addressed this allegation that the Charter Review Commission members created these 5 districts to favor a political party. I think he has very clearly refuted that statement. But you're certainly entitled to your belief that what they did was gerrymandering. But my question was, which of these plans, A or B, most closely aligns, respects, honors what the voters just approved?
I'm pretty sure you're trying to get me to say B, but obviously I'm still in support of A. Yeah.
I'm not trying to get you to say anything. I'm just trying to get you to answer the question. Want to answer the question? You can answer the question. Which plan, A or B, more closely respects what the voters approved?
Yeah, Greg. No. Just from looks, obviously it's B. Of course.
Okay.
But it looks like B, right? But
So there's 4 of us. There's 4 of us. I think Plan B more closely respects what the voters did. We're kind of, I'm not sure we're making much progress on this. Does anyone want to make a motion to adopt the plan? We are running up against a December 31 deadline in state law to have a plan in effect.
So Greg, I have a question first.
Mm.
And that is, if we don't reach the agreement of having basically 4 of the 5 of us agree, doesn't it just go back to the county council to say we couldn't do what we were told to do and it's their job?
Well, I guess I'm not an attorney, not legal. I don't provide legal advice. So I'm going to ask Amanda to speak on that.
Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the charter because I obviously don't know off the top of my head of what exactly would happen if there isn't an agreement. Hold on just a second.
What I've been told is that, yes, it would go to the council.
One thing to just answer partially to Greg's question as well. I think we've gotten the numbers on how many precincts change between each of the alternatives. It's what, like, Plan B changes the location of 12 precincts, while Plan A changes the location of 30. Just to put some numbers to a discussion that we were having. And Paul might.
And Juan, thank you. I think that's a really quantitative way to answer the question. Which of these plans more closely adheres to what the voters just approved? Morgan, that's a really good way to answer that question. So again, I'm going to ask if
precinct has a different level of population. I mean, I've seen 2,000, 2,500, 1,200, 600, 12. I mean, our 30 could be the same amount of people as your 13. Thank you.
So Juan, what Morgan is saying is that the 2 plans, which I think we've agreed have equal scores on the population criteria. Both plans are really good on getting equal population in the two plans. But what Morgan pointed out, that in order to get equal population in Plan A, you have to affect a lot more precincts than you have to affect in Plan B to get equal population. Is that a fair assessment, Morgan, of what you said?
Yes.
Right, but that just gets back to my own point. So we moved a lot more precincts.
I'm not disagreeing with Juan.
Because the population stayed the same. So we're close. We're really close on population. So our 30 just got us to you.
But you're moving.
You're saying now, Juan, it's better to move 30 precincts to achieve the same thing as moving, what was it, 3 that you said more?
I mean, there's a lot more details that would have to go into that.
12.
Right? Where are those precincts? Where's the you know, where they in one neighborhood and we just moved the whole thing?
No, there's no more. There's
If we
no more
just moved
details.
this here, if you look at the bottom, that's, you know, District 3 there. So yeah, we moved 30 because guess what? We probably moved 15 at the bottom and 15 at the top to even everything out.
So is it fair to say, Kamal and Juan, you are never going to move off of your A plan, whether it's A1, A2, A4, or whatever it is. You're never moving off of that.
Yeah, that's a fair answer. Yeah. And not because of anything. I mean, it's just the population came right in, and you know, we tried other stuff, and it didn't do what we wanted it to do, and this got closest. So that was I think the line, right?
I wish
you
you
would as best as possible.
Yeah, I just wish you would stop talking about population, because again, each plan has equal population. Both plans are good on population.
Okay, I'll stop talking about population.
I mean, it's a specious argument, right? I mean, both plans are good on population. So I'm going to ask again, does anyone want to make a motion for one of these plans?
Motion to
go ahead, Janet.
Put forth Plan B2 to the voters.
Is there a second for that?
I second.
So Tina, I'm going to ask you for, at this point, I'm going to ask for a roll call for each committee member to go on the record with their votes. Tina, can you do that?
Yes.
Actually, before that, any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, Tina, would you take roll call?
Kamal Richards,
No.
Greg Kimsey,
Yes.
Janet Landisberg,
Yes.
Juan Camboa,
No.
Morgan Holmgren.
Yes.
Okay, that's failed. Is there another motion?
I make
Juan, come on. This is your opportunity to put your plan in front of the committee to get a vote.
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
I think we know how there is.
Go ahead, Juan. Go on, Juan.
I make a motion to move on district map A2.
And I second that.
Is there discussion? Well, I'll have discussion.
I actually have a question, which is, I think initially when you proposed the plan and before I knew how you drew it, there was some merit to it, but I have a hard time now believing that this is consistent with the RCWs. Like, I think it seems like this was clearly drawn to favor one political party over another, which makes it very hard for me to consider voting for it. All right, do you have any response?
Yeah, my response would be another question is the same thing. I mean, we think that we just went in a direction, didn't think about politics, and tried to make the population great, and this is the side effect of that solution. Right? I won't mention population, right?
Okay, my comment is, it seems clear to me that the Plan A was created to favor political party. However, I am going to vote for the plan because we need to have a plan put into effect in order prior to filing. Plan B is by all the criteria that is important to me, the criteria that's put forth in state law, as well as the one that's not put forth in state law, which is that we've all agreed on. that to respect what the voters just did, Plan B is clearly, if you were to put weighting on these criteria and then score each of those two plans, Plan B would be would score significantly better than Plan A. We keep dancing around, or the sponsors of Plan A keep dancing around the reason why this S curve was created with a number of arguments that are not, frankly, just aren't logical when in comparison to the alternative Plan B. However, I am going to vote for Plan A in order just to move this thing forward. Other comments? Tina, you want to take roll call?
Yes. Morgan Holmgren,
No.
Juan Gamboa,
Yes.
Janet Landisberg,
No.
Greg Kimsey,
Yes.
Kamal Richards.
Yes.
And I I'll add on to my comment that the result of this committee not making a decision and putting the responsibility onto the county council will cause us to miss the statutory deadline of December 31 and makes it very dramatically increases the challenge of the elections office to get this redistricting completed prior to candidate filing. So, okay, well, what's the pleasure of the committee at this point?
I think we're done.
Was that Janet?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Ready to go back to the council?
Well, that's three. Morgan, what's your thought?
I mean, I hear your argument, Greg, and so I think I would like to maybe have more discussion about that argument, specifically about what happens to the county elections office without having a plan. So I don't know if maybe, Greg, you could create some sort of brief presentation, or someone from the elections office could, about how this would impact them if this has to go to the county council.
Well, we can certainly do that. Of course, it's unknown. I mean, if the county council will promptly adopt something, they'll do it next Tuesday, or begin the process next Tuesday, December 7th. Then it'll go along okay. Or if the county council is unable or unwilling or doesn't create a plan, it takes till beginning of February, which seems very likely at this point. That creates a problem. But yeah, we can certainly provide more information. We can have a meeting next week and talk more about that if you want. Happy to do that.
Well, I mean, yes, I would like to hear more about it, just because I would like to know the implications of not reaching a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Juan, Janet, Kamal, are you guys willing to have one more meeting to hear from the elections office on the impact of this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's look at calendars then.
I was hoping we could shoot for a Tuesday.
But isn't that when the county council meets? So wouldn't it be better to meet on
That's
Monday?
right.
Yeah, the county council meets on Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock.
And we are beyond, unless we schedule it later in the day on Monday, we still have to do that 24 hours. I don't know if weekends necessarily count.
I would actually prefer Monday afternoon myself, but or early Tuesday morning, 8:30 or 8 o'clock Tuesday morning.
How late on Monday afternoon?
It doesn't matter to me. I'm whatever.
Monday, I'm actually unavailable after 4 p.m.
So what about 3 o'clock?
3 o'clock works.
That works for me.
I have a meeting at that time, but I'm going to cancel it. So we'll
Well-
do 3.
I wonder if, Juan, you can only go till 4, Juan, is that what you said?
I can only go till 4.
Could we try 2:30 on Monday?
That works.
Give me a sec.
Kamal, does that work for you?
I'm checking my calendar. 2:30 Tuesday. Yeah, I can do that. Okay, that works. No, I'm sorry. 2:30 Monday. Right, 2:30 Monday. Yeah, that works. I can do it. So I make sure there's
I can do that.
I can do that. Yeah.
Well, so thank you to each of you. I guess I'll add to my list of criteria impacting elections office. It appears that that's something of importance to the committee. So with that, go to the order. Go ahead, Janet.
I'll be in your neck of the woods today at 2 o'clock because I'm doing election observing.
Oh, I don't think we don't
Could I
have
ask
what's
a
going on at 2
question?
o'clock today.
Mr. Chair, could I ask a question?
You bet, Chuck.
So I can make sure I have my hair done. Do you need me on Monday afternoon?
You know, who knows, Chuck? But right now, let me say how much I appreciate your being available on such short notice this morning. That was great.
Thank you.
And your meeting was at 2:30 on Monday?
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, I can shoehorn some time and I'll just reserve it on my calendar.
All right. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Have a good weekend. We'll see you Monday.
It's good.
Thank
See you Monday.
Bye.
Bye-bye.